if I was from a small town, I would have got triggered by colonizer logic.
Man.
But and I am from a small town. So we had a conversation a couple weeks ago, well, multiple weeks about what the Red girl, Sexy Red,
Lil Red.
And the clip that I shared was pretty much me saying that people shouldn't be afraid to make fun of stuff that should be made fun of.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't agree with that. I think a major reason was simply because I'm white. And I'm wearing this hat, and you don't like it, but it's okay.
That they want to seem like they're still cool. This is where a lot of people who should know better still want to seem cool. So whatever the new hotness is, regardless of how terrible it is, they got to
co-sign it.
They got to co-sign it.
It's like, all right, cool, I get it, fine. But one of the comments kind of stuck to me because he said it's colonizer logic.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting. At first, I was like, okay, where are you going with this? And he said, valuing technical structure over feel. That same logic killed jazz music. And I started thinking about it. I was like, is there truth to that aspect? That, that valuing the technical, because we've talked about this in the past too with the rappers that are super technical and they don't have any good, the feel's not there with them, right? It's kind of an argument we kind of have with Eminem sometimes and something, like.
Sorry, big fella, but that does apply to Eminem. Sorry about that.
I think that's interesting. But the more I thought about it, I don't know if you guys want to chime in too, but what I started to get to is that, well, music isn't just feel. There is also technical portions to music regardless. To me, it's a balance of the two. You could say that playing in key is technical. You could say that playing in 5/4 when you should be playing in 4/4 is technical. So to me criticizing Sexy Red for not rapping on beat is a valid criticism of that because that's a part of
her lyrics just being trash.
But I'm speaking. But my argument against that, I don't care what. Yes, it's trash. But like my argument was like she's not even on beat, and we're like cosign. Like hip hop is very rhythmic.
But you know what, Lone? I think first of all, I agree with you because we hear music the same, and I have this argument all the time with people that try to force me to say that we don't hear music differently, and we do. We've had this conversation before. Creatives do. It just is what it is. But I think the feeling is so powerful that I think that overshadows the technicalities because of how something makes you feel. So when it feels good, Frankie Beverly and Maze, who are technically sound, but it feels so good when happy feelings come on. It just takes you somewhere immediately. And I think people harp on that part more than the technicalities just because of how it makes them feel.
And I would agree with that. But in those songs that you're referencing, in any song that we reference, does the technicality take away from the feel?
No. Nope.
But can the technicality take away from the feel from somebody?
To me, it can.
Yeah, to me, the thing with jazz, though, the thing with jazz music,
I do.
And like I see what he's saying, but I still think he missed. And the reason why is because the whole thing with jazz, the reason why jazz was frowned upon by white people back then.
Or classically trained, classical artists, people who enjoyed the symphony, if you
will. Was because women were drawn to these jazz musicians. Like if
so you think it's more social engineering.
If you go back and read what was going on in that jazz movement, they were pretty much demonizing smoking marijuana.
They call it jazz cigarettes.
Yeah. So white women were interested in going to these jazz spots.
Yep.
Some of them were indulging in smoking marijuana. And they were saying that the marijuana in this music makes them do certain things that they shouldn't do. So it was more so boogeyman music, so to speak, when it came to jazz music, more so than the actual technicality of it. But because it was jazz music was hitting certain pockets that what other type of music wasn't doing. But you can say the same thing about grunge rock or even rock in itself. Other type of genres of music aren't classically trained. You know what I'm saying?
But even people who enjoy jazz, when they hear Miles Davis, and they hear Bitches Brew, they'll be like, I don't get this. As opposed to, what I'm saying? Like, that's, I think, sometimes where, instead of being able to recognize the genius that is Miles Davis and his improvisation compared to somebody who is basically
staying in the pocket the whole time.
There's an argument to be had there. I don't think that's what we're talking about when we talk about Sexy Red rapping off beat and sometimes barely rhyming.
Correct.
I think it's a different conversation.
And I agree
it
with
absolutely is.
I agree with Lone.
It's not the same.
Well, actually, what you all are saying, you said, can that take away? 100% it can.
No, for sure.
There's been plenty of times where I've heard, we've all said this at some point. We've all said, man, this song is cool, but it's just something about it I can't get through it, or there's something about this song that I can't. That happens.
To me, it's a balance. I think you have to have a balance of feel, and I think feel is more important than technicality. But if the technicality isn't there, then it's like the two pieces, they need each other.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think it might be 60-40.
Feel versus
feel versus technicality.
Yeah.
But if your technicality is 5 and it's 95% feel, to me you're messing up the universe.
The balance. And that jazz that we're talking about was still technical. Because you had to be skilled in order to play it that certain way.
I mean, 'COLTRANE has a song
highly skilled.
*COLTRANE has a song where like every note is a different key.
Yep.
Come on, man.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's different, and
we're comparing jazz artists, like for real artists that write music,
right,
to Sexy Red. That's where I draw the line, man.
That bothers you, don't it?
It's so much. It's nonsense, man. I don't know. Like I understand the logic to an extent, but I don't. To your point, I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Well, a lot of times, okay, this is where look. Once again, because I am in these public spaces where I hear these songs that I downright hate a lot of times.
At least you honest.
But you know what? And it's bothersome to me. But when they say, you know, when the lyric comes on, my booty hole brown, that does something to a whole room full of women to where they feel they need to sing along. And that is about feel.
That is
not about technical proficiency of lyrics or staying on beat.
Absolutely.
You know, and just to take it away from that, like I remember, shout out to my man Rusty Redenbach. I remember we had a little back and forth about the Salt and Pepper song "Push It."
Mm-hmm.
To me, that song is about feel. That's, to me, in my mind, that's barely even a rap song. But the way people feel when that record comes on, even to this day,
it ring off.
It's not even compare. You can't compare "Push It" to any other Salt and Pepper song.
Right.
Like, it really is, but the feel of that song, maybe it's not the most proficient, you know, as far as the lyrics filling in bars and what. But when you hear
I give you a prime example. Group that I know we all appreciate and love, an iconic group. To me, this is the epitome of, and they can actually rap, but I'm saying the feel for me outweighs the technicality from a lyrical standpoint. Is Kid and Play. All of those records felt good to me.
They were fun.
They were fun, lighthearted records. You dance and they doing the Kid and Play dance, the kick step, all of that. And those records were just fun records that were dope. But I'm not saying they can't rap, but I'm saying the feel for me outweighed the bars.
But I can honestly make even though like I said they were too high on the list, I can make an argument for Kid and Play's first album being a classic.
I'm not. I know the singles, but I'm not gonna lie and say I know the album.
Kid was a better writer than people want to give him credit for.
I agree with that,
especially on that first album.
Yeah.
One of the other comments says,
same thread.
Yeah, it's like James Toome, M-Tume. Thank you. Made a similar point when he was debating Stanley Crouch on Miles Davis. Miles wanted the 80s youth to like jazz, so he went pop, but Crouch didn't get it. But,
Stanley Crouch is known as a hater.
That is true.
But, you know, like, if we're going to, like, I don't know. Which Miles work do you like more?
The earlier Miles work.
You know what I mean? Like
that's even like when they did the doo-wop album. That single was good. The Miles Davis hip hop kind of blend album that came out.
Right.
Yeah.
That single that he did with Easy Mo B.
Yeah, that was dope.
Was good.
Yeah.
But the album as a whole was not my personal opinion. But I grew up with my dad who was a fan of jazz music. So I heard good jazz music.
Right.
So even as a kid, I knew this isn't good jazz music to me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound the same as that old Miles Davis stuff.
Sounds
and Spiral Gyro and stuff like that my dad is listening to.
Right.
This doesn't sound like good jazz to me.
Lone, you make a very good point using Miles as an example. Mm-hmm. Because my go-to Miles is Kind of Blue. Sketches of Spain, all
Early
the
stuff.
the stuff that he was really when he was in his bag.
He was in his bag.
You know what I'm saying? Like those are Kind of Blue is one of my favorite records ever made. So yes, that's what I go to. Now I get Bitches Brew has heat. One of the most iconic album covers I've ever seen. I would love to get that poster. That is fire. All the artwork.
But it definitely could be considered a hard listen.
It is a hard listen because it deviates from what we talked about with that vintage Miles. But
drugs.
Definitely. But there's some stuff after that where I'm like,
That's when he was deep into his drug bag.
Well, you know, it's a hard listen, but people talk, especially when it came out. And I can't speak to when it came out. But I just saw what people have talked about. "Hear My Dear" by Marvin Gaye.
It's
That's because of the connotation, though. That you know now.
Well, yeah.
It's a story behind that album.
Oh yeah, "Hear My Dear." Here,
yeah, that's a story behind that album.
But you know, like when it came out, people were like, "What is this?" You know, we just gotten what's going on. You gonna give us this?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
But
I see
inspired Nas's album. Life is Good.
Life is Good.
Yeah. Yep. So that's I
like that one alone. That's a good conversation.
I appreciated that comment because even though it was condescending, at least had some sort of meat to it. So
yeah, as opposed to other people who want to just talk about
not knowing that I played jazz music for 6 years. Like it's like I'm just saying
he ain't gonna know that. I like that stunt right there because that's actual facts.
It's like people don't know. It's like every once in a while, just say do your Googles in the comments.
You gotta learn. You gotta make sure that you learn your podcasters because. There's multiple bags up here on this set. Some people aren't aware of, but there are multiple bags. Most people.
It's all good. It's all good. I just don't like the clearly like blatantly disrespectful stuff. Like that's the stuff that I don't vouch for. Like this is disrespectful, but I can at least
Well, the thing is, it's like if you're going to
tastefully done,
I disagree with you, and here's why. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
That's why I'm fine with that. Yeah.
But if you just be like, man, look at that shirt.
Now, if I was from a small town, I would have got triggered by colonizer logic.
Man,
but I am from a small town.
You might have. So when you read that, you may have got you a tiki torch or something, man. After you read that, if you were still in your small town,
I don't know if I'd never left my small town. Perhaps.
You're
like, oh, colonizer. I didn't. I'm from Indiana.
A small town in Indiana.
A lot of those small towns in Indiana.
There are.